Greetings everybody and welcome back to another ASMR video. I'm super glad you're here. I had a couple of requests to do more guitar videos, and so I thought I would do another one and just show off this guitar and talk a little bit about it and hopefully talk you to sleep. So this is a Paul Reed Smith guitar. It's an SE version, so it's kind of the lower end model of this brand of guitars. But it's still a really nice guitar. Although I will say this one's kind of the lower of the lower ends, which really doesn't matter because I use it all the time and it sounds amazing to me, and it's got that mojo. So even though it's kind of a cheaper guitar, I think it's one of the best guitars. How I got this guitar is I had an Ibanez, which I do wish I still had, but it had a bridge thingy, which is called a Floyd Rose, and a Floyd Rose has this, like, how do I explain it? Kind of a bending, pivoting bridge that allows you to bend the strings down, and the strings are locked into the bridge so they don't slip, and then up at the neck part they're also locked so they don't slip as well, and that allows you to keep it in tune but then like loosen the strings up for some really interesting guitar tones. And I had that guitar, and it was a beautiful guitar. It was blue with this pewter kind of gray hardware on it, but I found myself not really using the Floyd Rose, and then if it would like break or a string would break in the middle of a show, it was kind of a disaster because the strings kept everything in balance. It's kind of hard to explain. If you know guitars, you know what I mean. If you don't, then just know it's kind of hard to keep things in balance if a string breaks. So I ended up trading it for this one, and I do think I got a wrong end of the deal in value, but in sentimental value, there's a high end. It's kind of hard to explain, because although this guitar, I didn't know it at the time, is a lower quality guitar than the one I traded, I ended up musically liking this guitar more, and I played this far, far more than my blue one. So it's hard to know if I got a good deal or if I got a bad deal. But this guitar is really nice because it has these two pickups here, which are called Soapbars. And on my other guitar, I was kind of explaining it in my other guitar video. It had I believe a soap bar in the bridge here, or the neck here. And this has two. So basically there's kind of three basic types of pickups. There's single coils, which is like your standard Stratocaster style guitar. It has the three pickups, kind of your classic looking guitar if you don't know guitars. Those are usually single coils. And then they used to put two of those single coils together, and so the single coils would like hum sometimes. And so they'd put two of those single coils together in the neck and the bridge positions, and they would reverse their polarity, and that would cancel out the hum, or some people called it bucking the hum, which is where they got the term humbucker pickups. So that's your second style of pickup. The first style, the single coil, has this kind of thinner, bubbly, trebly tone, and the humbucker, the two, has a thicker, more fuller, more bass, more, I guess you'd say, fatter tone. and then they went in the middle, and these are kind of the middle ground, so it's pretty thick, so it has a little more body than a single coil pickup, but it's also not as kind of round or full sounding as a humbucker, so you still have this kind of clarity in the notes, but you also have this fullness that you sometimes don't get in a single coil. And that is the Soapbar pickups, because they're just a little bit thicker, not so thin. And that's why I like this guitar a lot, because it has that perfect balance of good clarity for me and really good low end. So there's a pickup selector, and when I have it on the neck pickup, there's a lot of good low end, and then the middle section has a lot of good kind of mid-rangey sounds, some deep low ends and some good highs. And if I want a lot of clarity, then I use the bridge pickup. So then you can also grab my little tool here. This is just an Allen key, but in here, if you can see it, these are magnetic, so it kind of pulls this tool towards the poles. There's a bunch of screws. There's actually two in the center, that those will raise the pickup up and down. And then there's 6 just underneath each string, and you can take a flathead screwdriver and you can bring those up or down depending on how loud you want the string to sound. So over the years I have done a lot of adjusting to these poles, and they're, as with any hobby or passion project thing, they will never be officially set, because obviously sounds change depending on where you're at in your life and your music tastes. But I have these set really nicely, and I adjust them fairly often depending on, let's say I'm playing something in the middle here and I'm hearing too much of this one string, I'll go and turn it down, or I'll go and lower the pole here. Or if usually you can tell a lot better on one or the other pickup. So if I really want to know what each string is sounding like per pickup, I'll move it to just where each one is selected. So for instance, here is the neck pickup, and I'll play some songs or strum some notes, and then if I hear one string too loud, then I will lower the pole, and just kind of do that as I'm playing. And over time I've got them where I like them, and I don't have to adjust them as much. But like I said, I'm sure I'll be adjusting these quite a lot throughout the rest of my life. Another thing I wanted to point out is this bridge here. This bridge is kind of an interesting bridge. I think it's a sort of a lower quality bridge because all the levels are set here, but it's also a very low maintenance bridge. The other thing is, when I got this guitar, I didn't really realize it, but I think the bridge, like, it might have been dropped, because the bridge seemed like it was angled forward, because I still can't keep this in tune very well. Like, these two strings right here always sound a bit off, which this string usually sounds a bit off in standard tuning. So I tried, and then I finally took it to a guitar shop, and they said they could reset the bridge if they drilled out the body and put some hickory in there. And being, again, it's kind of a cheap guitar, so I said, sure, go ahead. They told me it would, obviously look pretty bad, which, sure, I guess it does. But I don't really mind. It's kind of like a character part of the guitar. So you can see that there's paint here that has been drilled out to straighten the bridge. So that's kind of I was going to say a war wound, but not really a war wound. It's kind of just a relic or a thing I did. This part right here, this little chip, is probably a chip from drilling. So that's kind of a war wound. There also is, just so I can move this without making too much noise, down here by the pickup, or the input jack, is a chip, and I cannot remember if the guitar came with it or if I did it. I'm pretty certain the guitar came with it when I did the trade, but it's there, and that's alright. Just adds some character. So, I'm going to try a few taps things. I don't know exactly what people like when they want to hear guitar videos, because it's too hard to play, but I think maybe tapping is kind of nice. Hopefully these are audible. I do have my mics very close and turned up all the way, so hopefully they're being picked up. I can do some scratching on the wound strings, but I don't feel like that's the most relaxing. Sometimes people will tie a handkerchief at the neck of the guitar so the strings won't ring. Because when I tap this with the open string, you hear the tone of the note rather than the taps. So sometimes setting a rag or tying a handkerchief allows just the tap to be heard. And my heater will probably come on, so I apologize for that. Hopefully it's not too distracting. I'll try and scoot this guitar down. Maybe I'll talk a little bit more about the guitar while the air is going, because otherwise you'll hear probably a lot more air and less of the tapping. Yeah. The other thing I did to the guitar is, now that I've moved it up out of the way, is these two volume, well, there's a volume knob, and then right down below it is the tone knob. So let me scoot this over just a little bit, see if we can do it very, very gently so that there's not a bunch of bumps on the table. So, for those of you who don't know guitars, a lot of them have a couple different knobs, usually just one volume. Some guitars, though, do have a second volume. Depends on your pickups and kind of how they've set up guitars. This one just has the one, and then it has a tone. And what the tone does is it kind of rolls off the highs and allows you to kind of just adjust your tone a little bit. And then each pot, I would say, has kind of different tone characteristics of like how much it rolls off and whatnot. A lot of guitar players don't use the tone knob. So sometimes on guitars you'll see, especially like punk bands or kind of just bands that have a lot of distortion and just like to kind of play, and they're not incredibly focused on different tones, they'll either remove it or buy guitars with just volume knobs. As for me, I don't really use this very much. I would be fine just removing it. Some people say that if you have a guitar and then you do remove it, you end up getting back a little bit of clarity or whatnot from the circuitry, because your sound will go from here into, I'm not exactly sure how this one's wired, but here to your pickups, to then your volume, to then your or your tone, then your volume, and then out. So if you take this out of the circuit path, you have your tone going through here to the volume and then straight to your output jack. Or I guess you have to do the switch as well. So some people try and do that to kind of clean up and just get more clarity out of their signal path. So let me move this back down, and then we'll try and do some sounds. Okay, now that the heater is turned off, I thought I'd try and do a few more sounds. So I have a few more taps. I moved the microphone to just barely out of frame, so hopefully this will pick them up. Kind of sounds like a cartoon. Okay, the other thing I do have is a slide. And there's, in my opinion, 3 guitar players who use slides. The first one is a guitar player. Well, so every guitar player has a slide, I would say this, or gets a slide. And they either fall into one of the 3 categories. They get a slide and use it and love it, and they use it all the time. Or they get a slide and they use it and they realize this isn't for me, and they put it away and never use it again. Or they get a slide and use it and they find one song that it works really well in, and that's all. And I fall into the category of I bought one, used it, and could never really make it work. I did have a song, sort of, that I used to slide the slide across. I'm not sure if you can see it, but what it is, I filed off one of the sides to make it really rough. Because instead of like sliding along like you normally do, I would take that rough side and slide it along the length of the string. So around here. And it would make kind of this haunting sound. So if I do... So, I don't know if that's relaxing or not. Let me know in the comments if that is relaxing, and then I'll do more. It doesn't seem like it is very relaxing, so I don't want to continue to do it and make it great on people if it's not. So, a kind of a, I don't know, story, I guess more information is, I found out by doing this. I think someone told me, or however I found out, but people used to use violin bows on guitars because it's really the same thing. You take the bow and you slide it up and down, and the rosin kind of does these small little plucks, if that makes sense. Kind of a broad generalization. But that's kind of what I was doing with this. And there is a company that makes an item called an e-bow, which is an electronic bow. This thing right here. And I think every guitar player owns one of these as well. They're like a slide. Or at least you don't own these as soon as you own a slide because they're more expensive, but at a certain time in a guitar player's life, they end up buying one of these. And these you definitely can't use for every song. You kind of either fall into 2 categories. You have a couple of songs you use it with, or you buy it and you don't ever use it for any songs. And I am kind of similar. I've used it on a few recordings, but it doesn't really fit anywhere in my music right now. Anyway, but what this does, as you can see, there's some kind of grooves here. There's 2 grooves on this side. See if I can position this in the light better. And so let's say you're going to use this string here. You'd set one groove on one string and one groove on the other string over it. And this middle slot is for the string. And what this does is there's a battery inside. If I can open it up quietly. And this creates an electrical magnetic field around the string. Actually, let's say this string, this is called the 2nd string in guitars. You'd set this kind of near a pickup. You don't want to set it over a pickup because it gets really wild and unruly. But let's say you can't see my pickup selector, but let's say I have this pickup selected. What I'd do is kind of set it and turn it on, and I'd set it kind of far back. And I'd start to, put a finger on a note, and I'd move it toward the bridge until it got louder or got the tone or sound that I liked. And so you kind of just hold this here, and it makes this oohing sound, and you can move your finger along, change the notes, and then move this forward or backward to change kind of the sound and the intensity of the note. So you kind of play it forward and back along with your finger. And then there's a switch that goes one way or the other way. If I remember correctly, it's been a while, one does like a harmonic of the note, so it's kind of a little harsher and piercing, if that's the right word. So that's a tone if you like it. And then the other side will do more of the note of the note, so it's a little softer and mild. And I'm not exactly sure how it works. It's just something in the magnetic field of how this is designed, but you do have two options. And I'm actually going to try and see if I can, I know it can ring out, so let's try. I'm not sure which one does what. I have to open the manual to see. But you can see the little light will turn on. You position the light over the string you want to play, and this will make a sound, and hopefully it's pleasing. There we go. And then we'll try the other side. This one might be the harmonic side. Fits. So you can hear that sound versus okay, so you can tell this side is the note side, and if I push it away, this side, that's the harmonic side. You'll hear it's kind of two sounds. One's a little bit more harsh, one is a little bit more soft. So I think that's probably good for this video. I'll do a couple taps as I kind of close out the video, and hopefully these will maybe tap you to sleep. Again, if there's anything you want to see for guitar stuff, let me know. I'll see if I can do just that in a video. But if you're still awake, thank you for being here. And if you're asleep, I hope you have sweet dreams.